Hey, what's up? I'm Annabelle Hasselbeck here with Natalie, Noury, and this is Respect Your Game. Another episode on Monday packed with WNBA. We'll get you caught up on all the things that went on last week and over the weekend, but we also got some tennis for you. Some special guests that had a great speech that we'll play and forecast some female athlete quick hits and some new fun segments. But first, Natalie, what's new on your Monday this afternoon?
Yeah, no, it's just wrapped up a 6-game stretch with the Woo Sox. So it's the day that you're kind of remote for the first time, can clean the house and get your life organized, which I always love those kinds of days. But of course, it's great to jump on here and speak about some more sports with you. I know we were together for Jimmy Fun last week, so I'm glad to see you again.
That was so fun. I know I had the best time doing that. First time for that event, but you did an amazing job hosting. I was just kind of sitting there admiring your skill level with all those things. And really, I was really touched with just the interviews that we got to do and the doctors that we got to interview. It was so impressive. Like, I really was blown away.
Yeah, and it was so cool to hear about, kind of how the money is put to use, not only like cancer research and care, but the way that they use it to give to the families and to these, like spring training trips, or like we talked about the girls' days out in Boston, ways to keep these kids and people confident through a really tough time. And I just thought it was really cool. It was great to do it with you, 6 to 8 a.m. at Fenway Park. So that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, it was a powerful day and a record-breaking year. That was incredible to see. I forget the exact amount, but I know it was over like 5.2 million, something like that.
Absurd. I mean, it was really high even at like 7 a.m. with you and I earlier in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was just impressive, but it just shows you the power of all that. But yeah, super cool and incredible event that I hope I can be a part of again. But let's get to some WNBA because there was a lot that we missed over the last week, and a week filled with upsets, which really is leaving the playoff picture different than what we've discussed many times on this show before. But let's start with the Atlanta Dream. They took down number 1 Minnesota Lynx 75-73, so very close game. It was Gray who led the game with 27 points, and all of those really they needed to pull off just that 2-point difference of a win. And Gray is still a really high candidate for this MVP race. But history was made for Atlanta because this is the first time in Dream history for the franchise that they've had a record of 24 wins in a season. And truthfully, I never thought of that as being like a stat or something to celebrate, but they were saying making history. I'm like, wait, what history is being made? Like, took down number 2? Like, what was going on? Took down number 1? What was going on? But no, it's a big deal for your franchise, and I think that is something that your team can probably rally around.
And that's probably something you kind of had I don't want to say like circled on the calendar. I'm sure you just try to play where your feet are kind of thing. But when you make it to that kind of a milestone and you realize the magnitude that win holds, it's like you look at your team a little differently and you're like, maybe we do have it in us. Maybe we do have what it takes to get to where we want to go. So I think that's, it's always kind of a cool thing to set attainable goals for yourself. But when you see them come true, I mean, that's just a different way to instill more confidence in your group, which I think is just great.
Definitely. And someone who is probably very excited about it, probably the most, is their head coach, Smesko. So let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Yeah, pretty exciting game, right?
Great.
Yeah, went all the way to the wire, went down last shot. Fortunately, we made just enough plays. I thought our, the first 5 minutes, they were scoring on every possession. I thought our defense really kicked in, and we started to at least make every shot difficult. They have a lot of good players that can make tough shots, but I thought our defense for the last 3.5 quarters was really good, and we needed every stop we got, including the last one.
Now, I'm assuming Coach is a lot more enthusiastic than he actually sounds based off of his post-game presser. I mean, your team makes a historic move for the franchise, and I wrote down what he said. It went down to the wire, but he was so chill with how he said. He's like, yeah, we went down to the wire. So I definitely feel like he was a little more excited than how he sounded.
Yeah, I feel like coaches always kind of, take I'll use the word again, the magnitude out of it, because they're like, oh, it's a win. We're focusing on ourselves. We're doing what we need to do to get the win. He mentioned the defense, how important that was for, 3.5 quarters. And of course, it just takes making one more play than the other team to solidify a win, especially a win with that small of a margin, 75-73. People were saying it was like a playoff kind of feel game. And of course, beating Minnesota, one of the best teams in the league. I mean, that's that's got to be exciting. But coaches, they're always going to play it like they're super cool and they're just focused on the next one, although I'm sure they're pretty excited. So yeah, we'll speak for him there and say that he's pumped under the skin. But yeah, no, that was a great win.
And it was more than just that big upset. Like you said, it felt like a playoff game, but it really was more than that, probably because they got to honor Pow Pow, their rookie out of South Carolina, and their AAP night, Asian American Pacific Islander night, in honor of her and her 23rd birthday, which is what an awesome way to celebrate your birthday. But here's the rookie explaining this and what it really meant to her after the game.
Big night, AAPI night, your birthday, you get the win. You take 2 or 3 from the number 1 team in the country, or in the league, sorry. And then you got set the franchise record for regular season wins. Or sorry, tied the record. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great. Very blessed. It was a great night tonight. And, shout out to Atlanta Dream organization for, hosting the AAPI night. That meant a lot to me, especially me, my culture, my family, and the support and the love. And I'm just beyond blessed. There's so much love tonight, and the support is crazy. And I'm just really happy that we got the dub today, 23rd dub, 23. So I'm feeling great. And, the game's over now, but we got Saturday, and we're going to be prepared for New York.
Yeah, what a birthday. And she's been starting as a Dreams point guard recently, but I think it's bigger than, just her role on the court. I think what this shows from the Atlanta Dream is investing and really showing that you care about the human that you have on your team in that rookie, right? Yes, she's a star. She's probably going to be a part of the franchise for a long time, but I think that's so important, is to show someone who is going to be a superstar for your team for a long time. Hey, we care about you as a player, yes, but more so as your life outside of just that.
Yeah, I think those nights are really special for people who are from different cultures too. I mean, you're absolutely right, because it is one of those things that, like, you're investing and recognizing what's important to your players, and you can see that message was definitely received by her. She was so excited to have that, and how much it meant to her and her family. And I know, at least with the Woo Sox games that I cover in the summer, we honor different heritage and cultures every game that we can, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we had Korean Heritage Day the other day. Irish Heritage Night was a lot of fun. We had an Irish band from Dublin come in and play live music. And it's just like, you can tell, not only does it educate the fan base and the spectators, but you learn a lot, and you find different ways to, like, honor the people that you care about, especially if they're on your team or just around you. So I think this was a really nice, message and effort for them to do that for her. And I just think, obviously she was very happy. So it was cool to see that.
Cool to see, and love those photos. Everyone needs to check those out on the Dream Instagram when you have a chance. But let's get to the team that has been on the hot streak. The Aces won their 9th straight game with an upset against the Phoenix Mercury, 83-61. That is a spanking, okay? That is a big time win. Talk about peaking at the right time. The best teams, they might not always come out with the hot start, but they know when the postseason is coming up and the playoff bracket starts to shift out, they need to get it going, and that's exactly what this Aces team is starting to do. So let's hear from the Aces head coach, Becky Hammond, on how hitting this stride really feels.
No, I'm like, haha, we got another game in 2 days. No. Look, there comes a certain point where you just got to know what you know. My belief in them has never wavered. Like I said, our locker room, it would have been very easy to fall apart in June. When things were not going well for anybody, not for individuals, not for the group, not for anybody. And it just speaks to the kind of character that we have, and the ability to have kind of rise above the circumstances and a figure it out type mentality together. Some locker rooms, they're really good at the beginning and then fade as the wear and tear of the season and the stress and the pressure builds and mounts, and this team seems to be settling in with the pressure.
Yeah, that's key. But that's also an opportunity that maybe some other teams don't have to settle in when the pressure really hits, right? Some teams might be more susceptible to injury because they didn't know how to take care of their body that long in the season. And it really seems like this Aces team is calm, collected, but confident in knowing that they're about to hit their stride. And this is a team that we were talking about earlier this season saying, oh, I don't know, are they going to make the playoffs? They're like kind of down low on that number 8 spot. And now they're sitting at number 3. So it's really wild, but just shows you what teams who have post-season experience, how they can really use that to their advantage.
And the belief in each other too. I mean, that goes a long way. And we just heard her say, our locker room could have fallen apart in June, but later on in that press conference, I mean, even the players were talking about the way that they were able to pull through that was by trusting each other, trusting the process. And even the rough patches taught us to lean on each other more. One of my favorite quotes that I ever heard, that's I still use: no pressure, no diamonds. I mean, it's simple, but it's straight. It's to the point. When you're under pressure, when you're going through adversity, when you have some struggles that you're going through, it's easier to get through with each other. And I think it makes you better because of what you're going through. So this team got through a tough time. There's a lot of faith in each other and on the bench. And I just think it's a really well-rounded team. And I think that they've got a good head on their shoulders, good attitude at this point in the season too.
And they're feeling good. 10th win over the weekend, and they take on the Chicago Sky 8 p.m. tonight, which, they're one of the worst teams, but I think that certainly means you cannot count them out because of what we're seeing. Yeah. Losses are losses, right? Wins are wins. It still goes on your record. But talking about the Chicago Sky, team not to count out, they just had their own upset, taking down the defending champs in the New York Liberty. This is a team that, yes, they're eliminated out of the playoff run, but it probably feels really good, even though you're not making the postseason, to knock down the best, the reigning champs in the WNBA. But Natalie, I'm wondering, just off of your sport experience and being around a ton of different teams, I could imagine that it would be extremely hard to still be competing the same as you would if you're not making the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's at that point, you're not necessarily playing for something as much as you are playing for each other. And, I've been on teams where the record was a losing record. I've worked with teams where the record's a losing record. And there are moments, there are lulls where they're looking at each other. We're looking at each other saying, it can't get any worse right now. But sometimes there's humor in those situations too. You can kind of uplift one another and say, listen, if this is what we got, this is the hand that we're dealt, let's make the most of it and let's just do it for each other. And I think it's even more impressive when those teams start becoming victorious because they're in those lulls, they're in those low spots. They don't have a postseason ahead of them, but they're still going out there and competing. I think that's a huge testament to these athletes and how they're playing for each other and just doing it for the love of the game. I think it does kind of come back to that too.
Yeah, and, as much as they're playing for each other, I was even thinking of it as you're playing for your job. You may get cut. You need to perform still. But I think it's a hard place to be as a player, right? Because there is also that factor of do I want to dive for that ball? I don't want to get hurt when we're not even going to make the postseason. Right. I can imagine all those things would go through your head as a player. But definitely, regardless, this win had to feel good as they're sitting on only 9 wins coming into that game so far that season. But let's hear what their star, Angel Reese, had to say about what this win really meant to the team.
Yeah, first, obviously, it's for Salute. Everything that she contributed to New York and being able to be here in this moment with her and see that ring, it was amazing. And hopefully one day we can get that as well. But I mean, New York's a great team. We don't take it for granted that they're the champions, but we came out and punched. This is our second win against a top 2 team, 2 teams that have been in the championship last year. So that's why it's so frustrating after games, because we know we can beat the best teams. And that's why we're so hard on each other. So I'm really happy with the team tonight. And I think everybody came up and showed up.
Yeah, it definitely would be frustrating if you're beating some of the top teams and yet your team still isn't even in contention for the playoffs. But I actually think something that's a little more frustrating, and anyone who's watching Respect Your Game right now would know, is that we were just listening to Angel Reese talk, yet the camera isn't even on Angel Reese. And so, yeah, I'm going to take a little shot at the Chicago Sky PR team and communication team because, guys, this is a professional team. Get the camera on the speaker. I think when you talk about how the league is going to continue to grow, it comes down to the details and it comes down to the little things that make your team professional. And I think, as a player, as a former player and someone who is, highlighting Angel Reese in this moment, it's let's get the camera on her. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked at length about how important branding and like team marketing is. But when you think about like other parts that really help promote a team, you got to think about the front facing things that include media and press and broadcast. And that's one thing that I really love about the PWHL. I'm extremely impressed with their post game coverage because they always have really nice cameras set up. They've got backdrops, they got microphones. It's a very professional setup. If you want people to be treated like professionals, you have to portray them as such. And I do think that's a really good point because it's just part of, hey, let's earn the respect that we deserve. So let's make it easy to respect them. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I want to see who's talking. I want to see Angel Reese. I mean, she's the show. My show is on.
No, yeah, I think that's a great point that you make, kind of comparing it to the PWHL, and you can just see how the leagues and each team is run. Like I will say, watching some of the Fever at home coverage, their press conferences are always like totally normal. You wouldn't notice anything. But then sometimes when these teams are on the road, their Fever coverage looks a little different. And obviously each backdrop's going to be different. Like there's things that change. But I even just preparing for this show have struggled sometimes finding these WNBA post-game pressers because sometimes it's just off of someone's phone. And I think just comparing it to another league that has not even remotely been around as long as the WNBA has, it's like you said, yes, there's so many details that you need to worry about with different organizations, but like what are people seeing? Like what's going out to the public that you can see visually, I think is a priority. But let's move on and get to some big news in the WNBA that happened last week. Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever suffered a serious season-ending injury, tearing her MCL right knee after colliding with the Connecticut Sun player. And this is exactly not what the Fever needed, especially dealing with the inconsistency of health with Caitlin Clark. The Fever have just been on a tough stretch, now sitting at third place in the Eastern Conference, and this definitely did not help. But unfortunately, like we keep seeing with some of these WNBA stories surrounding Sophie Cunningham, there's a little bit of drama going on with the injury itself. But thankfully, she was able to put that to rest on her Show Me Something pod, explaining the injury drama. So here's Sophie on the podcast.
You can say what you want about this. It didn't look dirty to me, just like a bang bang play under the rim.
I know Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I had been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this. There was no ill intent. I think it was a basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like there's no way that she would go in there and potentially try to hurt me. And so I had nothing but love for Bria. Bria and I are super cool, and like she would never try to hurt me because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat because I don't think she meant to do that at all.
Some people that might, but like not Bria. I was like, whoa, that was a little too casual and a little too confident that like, yeah, people are out to get her. But it's kind of what we've seen, just the aggressiveness in the WNBA. But I do think it's interesting and a little unfortunate that fans and media are so quick to say, oh, this player did this on purpose. She intentionally hurt someone, which I think is obviously malicious and a problem. Unfortunately, it happens in sports frequently. But yeah, I just think thankfully she was able to take to her own podcast and have her own platform to really diffuse that drama.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the more interesting advancements, I feel like, of today's athletes and like the media. Not only do you have a platform to get a message across, but like you have these podcasts, you have social media, like you know how to get news circulating with all of these options that we have. So someone like Sophie Cunningham going on and being like, listen, this is my platform. This is how I'm going to use it. I'm going to set the record straight. I mean, she's defending someone that she says she's great friends with. And I think that's important for her to do. But like just the way that she went about it, I thought, it's modern, but it's as classy as it could have been done. Like, all right, let's use this. Let's get the point across. Even the way it was edited, I thought that was really interesting. My productional mind is going a little bit, but when she was getting her point across, it just cut to a sole shot of her speaking. And that was like where you're really paying attention. It's like, okay, Sophie's got something to say. Let's cut to her and get through this statement and then bring them both back in. So, I mean, all of it, well done. I thought it was good.
No, it's important. Like, I think I'm just questioning, how are these athletes having the time to do their own show like mid-season?
Yeah,
but honestly, as media, it's awesome because you don't have to wait for that like 10-minute media availability pre-practice, and where Sophie Cunningham might feel rushed to get an answer and be like, I'm friends with Brie, you know, Bria, no worries, and all those things. I think this is a great opportunity and kind of new media, new podcasting for these athletes to be able to address drama like this and address, you know, intense situations that deal with season-ending injuries. But there was a fun video that the Indiana Fever showed of keeping Cunningham close to the team, even though she was getting surgery. So check out this awesome video. All right. Well, we might not have the sound, but this is basically their team doing a half-court shot, which is very typical in basketball, but they were going to make it for Sophie. Shout out Sophie. And that's the player that we want to talk about next. Caitlin Clark, you see her at this shoot-around. Clearly, she was participating, but she has been off and on, and that's something that the Fever really, you know, people are wondering, is this something that they're hiding? Does she actually have an injury that they're just taking day by day? But Sophie Cunningham actually was kind enough to actually talk about it and tell us her perspective on the Caitlin Clark injury situation. So here she is on her podcast as well.
Is Caitlin close? How's she coming along?
Dude, I don't know. Everyone keeps asking. Everyone's like, you know, and I'm like, literally, she doesn't even know. It's just like a day by day legit type of thing. And so, yeah, she's close, but like, you also have to remember, like, she could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now, but like at this level with how deep and like how good people are nowadays in our league, which is the best it's ever been, like you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. And so just trying to get her back in game shape, I think is what they're trying to do. But like, again, it's literally a day by day. I'm not holding out any information. I just literally don't know.
Did you see Skip Bayless said that the WNBA is lying about her injury?
Maybe Caitlin Clark has taken a couple of injury breaks just because she needed a mental break from all the jealousy, all the resentment, all the on-court bullying, cheap shots she takes.
That's literally bullshit. No one's lying. When you're an elite level player, you not being able to play is the hardest part. It's when you're playing is like when it's a part of it. Like you're built for that. So when people say stuff like that, I'm just like, just
shut up.
Just shut it, bud.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't watched the full podcast, but it seems really entertaining. So maybe we both got to check it out instead of just watching it for the newsworthy things. But I think what I loved about what she said here was, number one, she's like, I just don't know. I think that's one of the most powerful things that you can say ever when you're talking about something is, yeah, I just don't know. And to kind of make that clear. Right. But also she gave credit to the other players in the WNBA in the context of Caitlin Clark, the most famous WNBA player right now, right? She basically said, yeah, Caitlin is amazing, but yet there are other players who are just as good, if not better, if Caitlin's not healthy. And I thought that was so important because you have this narrative in the WNBA of it's only about Caitlin, you know, it's only about people only watch if it's her. And as much as there are like stats and data to back certain parts of that storyline, I think it's so important for Sophie Cunningham to basically say, like, we have talented and just as capable players on this team that are able to step up when our best player isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, people love to speculate. I mean, that's like half the battle, I feel like, with media and broadcast and sports. It's like people are like, oh, is she avoiding playing because she's being quote unquote picked on? It's like, or maybe she's actually injured and just needs to get back to 100% game shape. And in the process, in the meantime, we have other competitors who can do just as well. You know what I mean? Statistically, I don't know. But like as far as, the team goes, we've talked about this at length, how teams come together when your best player is down. I thought that was a nice thing that she said to kind of defer the focus, I guess, the attention on some of the other teammates. And I actually did want to react to that half court shot. You know, it was great to see the team kind of rally because this is really timely. So Marcelo Meyer just got surgery as well on his wrist, and he posted a photo on his Instagram story in the hospital bed with a thumbs up, and he's in his sling. And we had the Marcelo Meyer bobblehead giveaway in Worcester this weekend, so we were sending him content like, look, we know you're in a hospital bed, but like we're still including you. Things are still great. People still love you, and I think that's exactly what the Indiana Fever was doing there with Sophie Cunningham. So it's always nice to keep your teammates included when they're down and defend them too. I mean, that's always important.
Bobbleheads were like all the rage when I was growing up, and I haven't heard of a bobblehead in a minute, but you think they're still super popular? You think that made him cheer him up a little bit?
Yes, and he said it's the best one that he's ever seen made. Shout out to Courtney Cowsill in Worcester, because when he plays baseball, he's always popping bubble gum, and he's got the bubble, the pink iconic bubble. So this bobblehead, which I got a bone to pick with someone in Worcester because I didn't receive one. Okay, so I need to get my
Come on, Natalie, you need one.
I know.
Clip this,
I know,
Nesson. Clip this and get her a bobblehead. Let's go.
So it was great. Yeah, I mean, we sent him pictures, and he said, "I'm going to need about 100 of those." So you do what you can to support the teammates who are down and make them still feel included. But yes, the bobblehead was great. People loved them. Strangers were taking pictures of me holding Marcelo, so it was just funny. I mean, everybody loved it.
I love it. That's awesome. But a player in the WNBA who will probably have her own bobblehead for her team at some point here, most likely soon, is Paige Bueckers.
Hope so.
And though her team, hope so. And though her team might be last in the WNBA standings, she is having a standout season. She was this year's #1 overall pick and is setting records left and right. Last week, Bueckers dropped a career high 44 points. Like, come on, Paige. Everyone's saying put on a clinic. This girl has been on fire all season. And let me just read off the year that Paige Bueckers has had. She led UConn to their 12th national championship, player of the year, goes #1 overall in the WNBA draft, only rookie starter in the All-Star game, becomes the fastest WNBA rookie to hit 500 points and 100 assists and more. Just even thinking about 100 assists, that's a lot of passes. That's a lot of assists and playmaking ability. So just a crazy and wild year for Paige. But I think the bummer of this, and we kind of talked a little bit about it with the Chicago Sky, is that you're not making the playoffs. And for a team that has such a standout rookie, such a standout player like this Dallas Wings team, you have to imagine that they have to either start from scratch or do something in the offseason to really honor the fact that they have such a good player and they want to build the right team around her.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's an interesting point because I feel like we've run into that quite a bit in headlines in recent years. The first person that kind of came to mind for me was Connor Bedard when he was drafted to the Blackhawks, and they weren't really having a great season at the time. And people were calling for trade him somewhere that he's got a better chance, put him somewhere he's got a better chance. And he's like, listen, I love this team. I'm not going anywhere. And he said it straight. And I think Paige, she's dreamt of this her whole life, to be in this position. Granted, she'd like to be with a winning team. She's been used to that with UConn. But the culture is the important part. Feeling like you belong to a team is the important part. And knowing that your teammates believe in you and will do everything that they can to help you win. I think Dallas has shown that. I mean, it's been interesting to see not only her, but Cooper Flagg with Dallas too. I mean, they're two of the top prospects drafted this year, #1. Dallas has a bright future ahead of them, and we know how important and distinguished they're going to be. So I wouldn't worry just yet.
So I misspoke. Cooper Flagg bobblehead and Paige Bueckers bobblehead, both in the pro shops in Dallas. Okay, we'll keep the Micah Parsons situation out until that gets figured out with the Cowboys. But a lot going on in Dallas, and you can expect a lot of bobbleheads there. But enough WNBA because we got some tennis to go through. Lots of tennis updates from over the weekend, and a very fun speech that we not want to miss. So stay here with us on Nesson when we come back. It's tennis time on Respect Her Game. Maria Sharapova has just been inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame, and it was her old rival, Serena Williams, who made the surprise appearance with a very kind speech. So take a listen.
23-time major champion, Serena Williams.
Surprise! I know I'm probably the last person you would be expecting to see here tonight, but honestly, a few years ago, I probably would have said the same thing. But here's how it happened. A few months ago, Maria texted me that she needed to talk, and so I thought, uh-oh, what's going in, what's going down? Like, where do I need to jump in? What do I need to do, right? But when I called her, she asked me if I would introduce her into the Hall of Fame. And before she even finished her question, I said yes, loud, immediately, with my whole chest, because of course, it's Maria. I was honored. Now let's be real. Maria and I were once the fiercest of rivals. We had our differences. To the world, we looked miles and miles apart. But the truth is, we weren't. We wanted the exact same thing at the exact same time, to be the very best. In our sport, only one person can walk away with the trophy. And what's really wrong with wanting to be your best? Nothing. In fact, it's what drove us. That's what made our rivals so electric and so iconic. In 2004, when Maria was just 17 years old, she stunned the world and won Wimbledon. To this day, she calls it the highlight of her career. And to this day, I call it one of my hardest losses. The match didn't just make her a champion, it actually made her a star. It launched one of the most talked about and controversial rivals in tennis. For more than a decade and a half, every time we faced each other, the atmosphere shifted. It was thick, the tension was real, the fire was real, and honestly, you can feel it. And, by the way, you could hear it with all Maria's grunting. No, not mine, yours. I was just copying you. But behind all that fire, there was something else. Even though we didn't talk about it, maybe we really couldn't back then, we really respected each other immensely. Because to survive at the very top of the sport, you need resilience, you need toughness, and you need to show up every single day, year after year. And Maria did just that. There are only a few players in my career who challenged me to be the very best every single time we stepped out on the court. Maria Sharapova was one of them. Whenever I saw her name next to mine in the draw, I made sure I practiced harder. Okay, security. I have a heckler here. I focused more and I showed up with my A game, because whatever her weakness was the match before, you better believe that was her strength the next time. She was relentless about improving. I remember once running her left and then right and then left and then right and then left again, and she just refused to give in, and she went for everything. When the point was over, I finally looked over to see if I had tired her out, but nothing, completely poised. If you didn't know better, you would have thought I was the one doing all the running at that point. And honestly, the next point I probably was. She had this fierce, never give up attitude, never surrender, that always kept you on your toes. And I can't tell you how many times I was in the locker room watching her down a set in a break, because I would have to play after her. And instead of warming up for my own match, I would literally just sit down, I would look at my coach, and I would say, we're in for a long one, because Maria would come back every single time. She never quit. She never gave up. Of course, I was mad I had to wait so long. More than once I wanted to tell Maria, just win in straight sets. You know you're gonna win anyway, so just do it already. Why are you torturing us out here? But that was Maria. She was fierce, determined, uncompromising. She made you earn every single point. So let me back up and kind of address a little bit more the elephant in the room. How did we get here? How did I get her number? How did all this happen? How did we go from the Wimbledon finals to this? Me introducing her to the Hall of Fame. Well, here's a short version. And I think we have Anna Wintour to thank for that. Yes, that Anna Wintour. Every year she hosts this little party called the Met Gala. Maybe you've heard of it. It's one of the most intimidating rooms you'll ever be in. Actors, musicians, designers, influencers, the creme de la creme. Everyone is dazzling, and somehow you still feel underdressed. And here's the thing. If you're an athlete, you eventually find other athletes in the room. And because you know each other and you're on the grind year after year, Maria and I found ourselves at the same tables, at the same events, and talking to each other a little bit more. And with no Grand Slams match the next day, our guards were down, and little by little, we started to see each other differently. One year was small talk, another year was real conversation, and then one day it just clicked. This person I spent years battling across the net, might we actually like each other? And we did. One time a mutual friend of ours said, if we had met under different circumstances, we'd be great friends. I'm not gonna tell you, it's after hours. know who that was. Why? Why are you asking me this? And they were right. This mystery person was right, that Maria knows. But let's talk about Maria, the player in person. She was, and by the way, is the definition of professionalism. We had a call actually scheduled at 11 o'clock a.m., and she called me at 11 o'clock a.m. It wasn't 11:01, it wasn't 10:59, it was right on time. She's always on time, always focused, always disciplined, right on the dot, always prepared. That's Maria. And when she stepped on the court, she gave absolutely everything she had. It didn't matter if she was playing the world number 1 or the world number 300. She showed up with the same determination every single time. She didn't get caught up in the gossips and the distractions. She wasn't swayed by the headlines. She was there for one reason: to be the best, to win, and to compete. That was Maria. And that's exactly what she became. In 2005, just after 1 year after winning Wimbledon, Maria climbed to world number 1. Think about that, a teenager, less than 18 months removed from her breakthrough, standing on top of the sport. That takes focus, fearlessness, confidence, which Maria has, and unbelievable discipline to rise that fast. She never let go of that standard, and I always admired that. She went on to win Wimbledon, the US Open, the Australian Open, and eventually she mastered the surface that humbled her most, the clay. In fact, I would always tell myself, give 100% like Maria. Focus, focus, focus. If she can do it, you can. Yes, Maria, you were inspiration to me, and without even knowing it, you always inspired me when I went out there, because I knew if I could just focus like you, I could do well and I could win. So thank you so much for that. Maria's journey on clay simply made me better. Maria once famously said she felt like a cow on ice playing on clay. And I'm sorry, but listen, I did play you before once on clay, and you weren't wrong. But here's the difference. Maria did not accept that as a weakness. Quietly behind the scenes, she made it her single most important mission. She turned her greatest vulnerability into her greatest weapon. She took that legendary mental toughness, the same toughness that she showed every opponent, and she pointed it right at the clay until it gave in. And she conquered it, not once but twice. 2 French Open titles. That's who Maria is. Make your weakness your strength. That's her. That's her legacy. And the more I've gotten to know Maria, the more I realize how much we share. Champions actually always have a lot in common. I once asked her, how does she celebrate her wins? And she looked at me and she said, celebrate? What does that even mean? She was always focused on the next goal, the next title, the next challenge, and honestly, that sounded a little too familiar. And when I asked her if she celebrated her retirement, she shot back, did you? We both laughed because no, we both knew that we both knew that without answering that neither one of us did. Champions do not live in the rearview mirror. We do not look back. We keep going, we keep adapting and thinking about our next win. Champions move forward, champions live in the present. Maria was and is the personification of that. Maria's impact goes far beyond the court. She won 5 Grand Slam titles, as we already know, and that's what we call the career Grand Slam, which is something only a handful of players are able to do. Scroll a little bit, thank you. She became the world number 1 at just 18 years old, something I never did, and she held that spot for 21 weeks in her career. Maria won 36 WTA titles, earned over $38 million in prize money, and spent more than a decade ranked inside of the top 10. She was also an Olympic medalist, winning silver at the 2012 Olympic Games. Well, security, please. And beyond the numbers, Maria was the most recognized and admired athletes on the planet. She was the highest paid female athlete in the world for 11 straight years. And she showed us all how to take excellence on the court and turn it into excellence in business and fashion and branding and everything that she touched. She inspired young girls around the globe and inspired them in the world that if she can do it, they can do it too. She could win on the biggest stages, then they could too, and they could conquer new ones. She changed how women not only approached tennis, but sport and opportunity. She showed us that you can be fierce on the court and strategic off the court and unapologetically yourself the entire time. And she always did it with her head high, proud, strong, classy, and yes, with that signature grunt. And today, her biggest joy isn't only a trophy, it's her son Theodore. She's taken that same focus, that same fire, and poured it into being a mom, a great mom, steady, calm, and thoughtful. She actually reminds me a lot of Venus, and the more I get to know her, the more I think about the things we share and we can share in the future. Maria's honest, she gets to the point quickly, she's earnest, she's loyal, she's family-oriented, and at her core, she's just a great person. If I didn't know her better, I think she could have been my sister, the yin, the yin to my yang, the calm to my storm. So don't be surprised when I'm calling her with all the dramas in my life, because that's what sisters do. So what started as a rivalry turned into an enormous amount of respect. And what grew from respect has turned to friendship. And like I said, champions adjust. Maria didn't just win matches, she built a legacy that will last forever. Last year, I asked Maria to be my tennis ball. And I think this is her way of saying yes. So tonight is my honor as her former rival, her former fan, and now her forever friend, and one of the world's greatest sports heroes of all times and champions, to welcome Maria Sharapova into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Had to have been one of the best speeches that I've heard in that context as well, but also just for Serena Williams, like, she's hilarious. To roll with the punches there, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, public speaking must be another skill of hers. That was a great speech. First of all, I love the International Tennis Hall of Fame, Newport, Rhode Island, one of the most beautiful sites ever. And just, I mean, the first word that comes to mind is classy. I mean, how incredibly classy is it to just go up there and speak about someone that used to be your greatest competitor, your greatest competition, and just shower them with compliments and praise. I mean, that just, to me, it just speaks volumes about Serena and the sport and just the level of respect they have for one another.
So much respect and so kind, like what she had to say about her just as a person and as a competitor, right? You spend, the majority of your career probably like hating each other's guts and really wanting to defeat them. But I did love too how she kind of pulled on the heartstrings of what fans probably wanted to hear and what the outside public wanted to hear. And that she said, people wonder, how did I get her number? You wonder, like, how did we even get each other's numbers? I thought that was so funny because it's one of those things in pro sports that you don't really think about is, okay, when do these competitors talk? What do they think about? And even just how Serena talked about her watching her warm up and understanding like, what do I want to know about my competitor and my opponent? But I thought it was really cool, like you said, the respect that she gave her and how they really wanted the same thing. And just to hear her at the end talk about how they could have been sisters and really making that connection, it truly means that she has a lot of love and respect for her.
Yeah, I mean, I loved listening to that. It was just really cool. And I think something that popped out to me too is just talent recognizes talent. Serena and Maria, I mean, two people that we grew up watching and hearing about. And competition is great. It's healthy. In my life, in our careers here, AB, I think competition is always good because, like Serena said, you see someone's name or you see an opportunity, it makes you work extra hard. So sometimes those kinds of people just make you better. And in a way, it's like Serena is paying her respect and gratitude to Maria too for pushing her to be the best that she could be. So I loved that. That was great.
Definitely. Really cool. And congratulations to Maria Sharapova. I feel even cooler as a person because I had her as a fathead on my wall growing up. But that's all the tennis we have time for today. When we come back, we have a fun segment. Natalie and I will get you some topics, some questions, some women in sports that you need to know about, and some new questions that we're going to throw at you. So stay with us when we come back on Respect Your Game. Hey, welcome back to Respect Your Game. We got a fun segment here for you talking about some questions we have and which female athletes in all the world of sports we would take on these questions. So the first one, what female athlete would you want to take on a tour of Boston? Where would you go for lunch? What would you do? Etc. I'll kick us off. I know I say her name a lot in here, but I would go Ilona Maher, one of my new favorite female athletes after watching her in the Olympics. I think she's just hilarious and would be great on like a duck tour, duck boat, like mic'd up around Boston. It's something that I've done around the city, been around Boston a lot, done the duck tour thing, and I think she would make it engaging, new, fun, change it up a little bit for me. I'd also love to take her around to all the different like big Boston colleges. So BC, BU, Northeastern, Harvard. I want to hear her take on each place. Like, all right, give me, what are you rating it? What do you think of the student life? What's going on? And then for food and lunch, I kind of broke this up into different categories. But I was like, you know, maybe I'll take her to the Barking Crab, like have a nice lunch. It's, you know, in the Seaport, very Boston. But then I was like, knowing Ilona Maher, like I know her, like talking about Ilona Maher, she would want like authentic, right? She would want like authentic Boston. I was like, take her to somewhere in the North End, but I'm thinking more of like a Southie pub, like get the Bostonians, hear some accents. So that's what I'm going with Ilona Maher. But what female athlete are you touring around Boston?
I love that because when you think about it, to me, I'm like, who do I want to spend a day with? Like, there's very few people in this world that I would actually put like 8 hours in a city with, because I'm definitely not a city person myself. I live in New Hampshire, far away from Boston. But no, so I was thinking about this and I'm like, you know what? If I could learn anything from someone, I think it's going to be Lexia Gia, because we're going to go over to the Prudential Center and she's going to help me pick out my wardrobe, right? So I have no idea, like, I need her eyes. I need her mind. Walk me through Aritzia. Walk me through the nice spots. Help design me for this upcoming hockey season. So I would take Lexia Gia shopping, although I also hate shopping and spending money. So maybe I'm just the wrong person to travel in Boston with. I don't know. But
no, I think, listen, if you're going to travel with anybody, she's the one to help you shop, because then it's clear cut. You know what you're going for. You know where you're going to get. Second question here before we go to break quick. What female athlete could be a dual sport pro, like Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson?
Love that. I went with Megan Keller because I've seen her play with the soccer ball pregame before hockey games. She's pretty good. She's got good foot skill. I'll give her that. So I'm going to say Megan Keller.
That's a good one. Roll Eags. Love my Megan Keller. I love that one. I'm going to go, you know, I was like, I could go with any hooper. I could go with any basketball player, because I feel like basketball players are just so athletic in everything that they do. But I'm going to go with Cameron Brink, LA Sparks. I feel like she'd be a great volleyball player. She probably did play volleyball growing up. I didn't do my research that much to see what her whole history was, but I definitely get that vibe. I got the height. And you're also playing on a similar surface. So I'm like, okay, if she had to do it, she could probably figure it out. Same kind of footwork, same kind of jumping skills, blocking. She's used to that on the court. So I feel like that could be an easier conversion. But when we come back from the break, we got two more fun questions with you. You'll find out who Natalie and I picked for these last two questions, and I'll find out too, because I actually don't know who Natalie picked for these last two. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Respect Your Game. We got two more questions for you to wrap up Monday's show. So we'll start with Natalie again. What female athlete who is active right now do you think would be the best coach after they retire?
So I was thinking about this critically. I'm like, so who do I think would be a good mom? I was trying to think of like players who have kids, like Serena Williams or something like that. I came across a photo of Caitlin Clark holding a toddler courtside, I think while she was injured. And I'm like, you know what? That just screams like future mom, future coach to me. She's of course going to have a spectacular perspective when the next generation is growing up. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does after her career. And I think she'd make a great coach.
She would. I was also contemplating that, but I love your angle of who would make a great mom, because I really do think that there are parallels and similarities when coaching, specifically women too, right? Like, and to be able to have that holistic approach to coaching. But I'm going to go with her teammate, Aaliyah Boston from the Indiana Fever. I think she understands the game extremely well after listening to some of her pressers here on Respect Your Game. I'm like, oh, wow, she like really understands defenses and offenses and what other teams are doing. But also, like, she's got a great sense of humor. And I think you kind of need that, just like being a mom. mom on these shows. But we'll get to the last question real quick. What female athlete would you want to trade places with for a day? So Natalie, you don't have to hang out with them all day, but you have to trade places with them. So what female athlete would you want to trade places with for a day?
Yeah, I mean, I decided to go with Nelly Korda because she's a professional golfer. Her life is amazing. She gets to travel the world and play golf for a living. Tiger Woods knows her and hangs out with her. I'd love to hang out with Tiger Woods. But I just think that would be a really cool lifestyle. I think in a past life, I must have been a professional golfer or something, because I just think that's something that's always called me. I think she has a really cool lifestyle, and I think that'd be really cool to live and see just kind of what the tour is like as a professional female golfer. I think that's cool. I think that's awesome.
It's so cool. And I was actually on a similar wavelength with you. I was like, what if I was a pro tennis player? Then my training would be in like the Bahamas or Florida, or it would be somewhere warm. Nice. But I went on a different track, literally. I chose a professional track athlete, Sydney McLaughlin, because I was just thinking the emotion and hype for running for Team USA in a 4x4 relay. I mean, that is just probably like peak, what's it called? Serotonin, but also just that just nervousness inside of you that you're like, this is insane. Like I'm sprinting, for the U.S. So that would be my girl. But this took place of our Girl on Fire segment. But absolutely love doing this with you, Natalie. It was fun to go back and forth and do some tennis time. We did WNBA. We'll cover it all here on our Respect Her Game. But thanks so much for tuning in to Respect Her Game. We'll be back every Monday to catch you up on WNBA, tennis, maybe some more questions like this with who you would want to take around Boston. Thanks so much for watching. Annabelle, Hasselbeck, Natalie, Noury. We'll see you next week.